What's going on, guys? So in this video what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be changing out the automatic transmission fluid. And the first thing you got to do, of course, is get your car up in the air so you can squeeze under there and get things out of the way. However, I have an obstacle. Because I ended up putting in a super big intercooler up here, I have an issue of getting to the refill point, so I need to take care of this first. The refill point is actually the dipstick. So in an automatic, it's gonna be, I don't think I'll be able to even show you guys. It's way down in here, and the only way I'm gonna be able to get to that is to take out the intercooler, which, as you know, is super fun. If you look over on this side, that dipstick down there, that one is not the correct one. This one right down here, that's actually your front differential. The dipstick right down there, do not fill that. That, I believe they're switched around on the manuals. So make sure you have the right one. I pulled that one out thinking it was it, and then smelled it, and it smells like diff fluid. So then I did a little bit of research and figured out that's not the right one. So automatics, theirs will be over here. So I've got to take my intercooler off, which is just a total pain, but I'll get through it because, you know, every time you need to do something, it's got to come off, and after doing it enough times, you get used to it, I guess. All right, now that I have the intercooler out of the way, if you want a video on how to do that, I'll go ahead and pop it up here real quick so you guys can see that. It's just another video that I took it out. Many videos I take this out. So what we're looking for is that dipstick right down there, the other yellow one. So you've got a yellow one right here, and then you got another one right back here. So for automatics, you want this one, and that's where you're gonna refill it. So it's not exactly the easiest thing to get a funnel into, so you definitely have to make sure you have a funnel that fits on there, or something that fits into this one. All right, that was actually extremely difficult to do. That dipstick did not want to come out. It probably took me about 5 minutes, and I just got something that could go into this hole and turn it, and I was just going back and forth and pulling up on it, and my God, that thing was stuck. Anyway, this is your dipstick, and this needs to come out to fill. So now that I know that I have it out and I can fill it up, might as well just check the level. It doesn't really matter because I'm gonna drain it anyway, but yay! All right, guys, so here we are underneath the car. It's the front of the car, and this is where you usually do your oil, right where all this plastic stuff is. And then if you follow it down, this is gonna be your diff. This is the one with the star opening up here. And the transmission pan is gonna be this one right here. I've got the 17 up here in the bolt. I'm probably gonna have to get my breaker bar down here to get this thing off. But this is the pan down here. That's the one that we wanna pop open and drain. Alright, so now that everything is drained down there, I'm going to take out my dipstick and set it gingerly over there somewhere. And luckily, the funnel I have fits down in here. You just kind of have to maneuver it around all these hoses, but it fits in the bottom. It looks like someone has already been in here and possibly flared it out a little bit, but this fits in here so I can get my transmission fluid in here. I'm using the Valvoline Max Life. It's cheap, it works, it's really good for a flush, which is what I'm doing. So this is not the first flush that I'm gonna do. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill this thing up with this Valvoline. I'm gonna fill it up, make sure it's full, and then I'm gonna drive it around for a few days, possibly a week, and then do this exact same procedure again. I've got 2 of these, so I'm gonna fill it up again, flush it all out again, And then for the last one, I'm gonna fill it up and leave it in. I'm also going to replace the filter, because there's a transmission filter on there, and I'm gonna do that very last. I've already got one, so if you want any of these, of course, all my videos down below, you can find the stuff that I got in this video. That filter down there is pretty expensive. It's supposed to be a lifetime filter, but with 150,000 miles, I feel like it's time to change it. Even if it is a lifetime, it's still preventative maintenance in my mind. So that's what I'm gonna do, is fill this bad boy up. So next up, I dropped it down on the ground so I have a nice even surface. I'm gonna see if I can crawl back under there and get any more fluid out into my pan before I actually fill this up, because when you fill it up, you want it on a flat surface, because that's how you're gonna be driving. So let's do that first. So because my intercooler is out and I can't start up the vehicle and get it warm, plus I can't even get down to where the dipstick is, I'm gonna have to fill this up to the full line on the cold end of the dipstick. So once I get that up to the full end, after I check it a few times, I'm gonna button everything back up and drive this baby. All right. Now that I have drained this a few times, so I've gone through a few cycles of filling it, driving it, filling it, driving it. Now I'm gonna do my last fill, but I'm gonna be doing it with the OEM, because you can't use anything else. It's just not the same. This is the automatic transmission from Japan. I'll link this down below so you can get the exact one. This is the transmission filter. So I'm gonna do this right now. It's basically the same process as doing an oil filter. I've got my remover right here, so I'm gonna pop off that old one. Hopefully it's not gonna be too difficult. And then get a little bit of oil, go around this nice O-ring that comes on here. Tighten this up, hand tight, and then fill it back up, and I should be good to go once that's done draining. So here I am underneath the car. It's basically done there. Next up, we gotta remove that filter. It's right there. This is for the 05 XT. I know it changes for some other models where it's actually inside the pan, but this one's nice and easy, and you can easily check by looking up here and to see if you have that filter or not. So I'm gonna pop that off, and there's gonna be quite a bit more fluid that comes out of there, so have your drip pan ready. Alright, so that was a little bit of work, but I did get the filter off. We still got some drainage going on there. So right before I put on the new one, I'm gonna clean off that mating surface. I just wiped it down, make sure there's no gunk or anything in there. So nice and clean for when I put the new one on. Now I'm just waiting for it to finish its little drain here. Slide that back on, make sure that bolt is tight. And you also have to make sure that that one is nice and snug, hand tight on there. You don't want to torque it down. It's the same thing as an oil filter. You don't want to torque that thing on. Then we're gonna go and fill this bad boy up again. All right, so I have everything all put back together in here. Now the big thing about this whole process is it just takes a lot of time. You've got to drain everything out. Well, once you take this out, at least for me, I have to take mine out because mine's an aftermarket. It's a lot larger than the original. If you have the original, you should be able to get to that plug down there, pop it up, the dipstick, and fill it and whatnot. But I was not able to do that, so I have to take mine out. And the big thing is it takes a long time. You got to fill it up, you got to drive it around, you got to drain it, you got to fill it up, you got to drive it around, especially for me because I had to take this out each and every time. But I did that about 2 times. And now that I'm done, I haven't showed it yet because I put everything back together. But you have to make sure before you drive off, you have to make sure your fluid levels are correct. Not just from the dipstick, but get into the vehicle, turn it on, and go through the gears. And that's what I'm going to show you right now. So once we jump inside our beautiful Subaru, we're going to turn it on. And we're going to let it sit in park for, I went 10 seconds down and up. So I let it sit here for park for a little bit, let the car warm up, and then I'm going to pop it into reverse. I'm going to let it sit here for about 10 seconds so everything can start to cycle through with the torque converter on here. And then neutral, drive, third, second, first. I'm going to go through all the gears and kind of wait there for about 10 seconds. And once I'm done all the way down at 1, I'm going to do everything in reverse. So I'm going to pop it back into second, wait, third, wait, drive, neutral, reverse, back to park. Once I'm done with that, then I'm actually going to take it for a drive after I recheck the fluids to make sure everything is the way it is, especially if you take out that filter. If you take out that filter, there's a lot that still needs to be absorbed into that filter and drained into that filter. So I went through and I did this about twice, and my fluid level was at full and then dropped down. I filled it up, did this again, dropped down again, had to fill it back up, etc. So once you get through all of that, then you can go for a test drive. Everything is all set and dandy here. All you got to do is get out of your parking space, drive off, and just kind of go through the gears, drive around for maybe a mile. It really doesn't take a whole lot. Come back, get into your parking space, and check your fluids one last time to make sure everything is nice and full, either cold or hot. I did it on hot because I did warm the car up. I drove it around quite a bit, so it should be completely fine. So that is it. 150,000 miles, automatic transmission flush. I already noticed once I did the very first flush, I noticed smoother shifting, but for me, it's just a maintenance thing, but I already noticed the difference after the first flush. So I hope this helped you guys out, and if you want, subscribe, because I've got a lot more videos to come.